Congratulations all, you've made it to your very final Revit tutorial for 8211. So this last tutorial is about making sheets out of all the lovely views you have made. So we're making 1, 2, 3, making 4 sheets, A0, A1, A2, and A3. And each of these are going to include those various views you made laid out on them with a couple of additional schedules and keys added in. So we're going to have Revit. This is the file that you've been working on the whole time. Always save if it asks you to save. The first thing we need to do is load in a sheet that would be helpful for us. So we're going to go to View, New Sheet, and then here you need to load in a sheet that I have pre-made for you. So it will be on Canvas. I think mine's under, oh God, where did I save it? Downloads, maybe, nope. Okay, so it should be on Canvas, it should be called Mica D22 by 34 horizontal. You're going to open up that, so that's here, and then hit OK. So this is one sheet that you're going to have, and you will lay out all your drawings on here. So you'll notice on the project brief, it lists the name and the title of each page. So I'm just going to go straight down in order. So A1 title page. Or you can call it cover sheet. That's probably a better name. Let me make that cover sheet. Cover sheet. Okay. So over here, I'm going to change the number to A0, A-0. And then here where it says unnamed, this is going to be your sheet name. So this is going to be cover sheet. Under project name, you would put in the name of your project. So if you have a fancy name for your project, that's great. If not, you can just call it, you know, whatever, row house renovation. The owner, if you have a specific owner in mind, you can put them in. For mine, I'm going to put my dog, Mina. This is all right, and then drawn by, and here you can put in your name. Issue date, so this is due on our last class, so let's see when that last class is. Deadlines, 5/4, so this is going to be issued on May 4th, 2023. And your project number can be whatever you want. I'm going to make mine 23 for the year 001, first project of that year. Okay. So everything, all the information here is great. So then what do I actually need on this sheet? Let's look back at this. So I need to have on a title, a drawing list, a site plan, exterior perspective view, interior perspective view. Let's start out by putting on the things we already have, which are the latter 3. So adding a view to a sheet is very easy. I just go over my project browser, I click on the view, and I drag it on. And there it is. Notice that I cannot drag something on twice. So if I were to try to drag this on again, it's going to tell me it's already placed here. If I needed for some reason to have 2 of the same site plan or something like that, I could always right click this and duplicate view. You can either duplicate it as a dependent, which means that it will look exactly the same, and it will update itself so that they look the same all the time. You can duplicate it with detailing, which means it will look the same, or you can just duplicate it, which means it'll not have any of those graphic overrides you put on. But not a problem for us, just a note for the future. Okay, and this looks huge. Is that really the scale we need to have it at? I have it at 1/16, so I think I'm going to bring in this site plan much smaller so it doesn't take up my whole view. So I'm going to double click on here, click on the bounding lines here, your crop region. If you can't see it, you would click here to show your crop region. I'm going to bring this in much tighter. So I'm just kind of seeing maybe the alley behind us, maybe a few of the houses across the street. So this is a much tighter cropping than we initially had, but that feels okay to me. Maybe I'll come over one more house. Okay, and now I'm going to hide my crop region. Right click here, deactivate view. I can also always double click outside my view or double click inside of my view. This is like paper space. So right now I'm on my piece of paper. When I double click here, I'm inside my view. I can actually affect things in my model. So just be aware of where you're clicked into. Are you clicked into your view or you clicked into your sheet? Okay, so I just edited the bounds of that. You'll notice there's also this sheet title that automatically comes up down here. If I have nothing selected, I can click, it turns blue, and I can drag it right underneath. And then if I click on my view just one time, then this little bubble shows up over here, and I can drag it in so it doesn't go way past it. Okay, great. So there's my site plan. I'm going to bring that up here. Next, I'm supposed to have my two perspective views, so my interior and exterior perspective. Those also live under the project browser. I'm going to click and drag them on. And I'm going to click and then drag this on. So you'll notice right now my interior is much bigger than my exterior, and it really doesn't need to be that big, right? There's not that much detail in there. This also really doesn't even need to be that big. Let's see what else is going on in the sheet, and then we can figure out sizes better. I think that this probably needs to get bigger, this probably needs to get smaller. Okay, so other things we need on here are our title and our drawing list, and that's it. So there's not a lot that's going on here. For your title, this is super easy. You're just going to go to annotate, grab your text, and right now we don't have a text that's very large. I want to have it be 1 inch large. So I'm going to go to edit type, duplicate, and call this 1 inch Arial. Hit OK. And here I'm going to make the size, the text font size, or the text size, I'm going to bring that up to 1 inch. I'm going to make it bold and hit OK. And then I'm going to click and drag, and here I can type in just the title of my project bigger. I know it's already on the side, but since this is the cover sheet, I want it to be very visible. So I'm going to call this 2001 Fairmont, or I'm going to call this row house renovation. Or how about, if it's for the owner, I can call it like Nina's row house renovation. I'm going to add some lines here, so DL, and I can kind of use that as a guide so that things are lined up and neat. I want this to be a thin line, so I'm going to go over here to thin lines. Bring this down a little bit so it's not blocking anything. I'm going to copy this down to there. Okay, so this is just making some kind of a title sheet for myself, and then I want to have a drawing list. So my drawing list can go over in here. So this area is either, well, actually, let's put your drawing list down here. So this area is usually reserved for a few consultants. So you can put like the name of your firm, and then under that, maybe your structural consultants, your engineering consultants, all those people, they would all kind of live over here. Since this is a small project, we don't have all that going on. So I'm just going to leave that empty. I do want to have a drawing list on here though. So I'm going to go over to, actually my drawing list is a little bit pointless to make right now because I haven't made my sheets. So let's wait on the drawing list and let's come back to our title sheet. We'll edit the sizes of these things based on how large our drawing list is. So everything here is fine for now. I'm going to come back and edit this later. I'm going to make my next sheet. So I'm going to go to View, New Sheet. I still want the Mica D 22 by 34 horizontal, hit OK. And you'll notice I already have a lot of information in here that's common to the entire project. What I do need to rename is this. So it already has A1 in here, but this is going to be, I'm pretty sure my floor plans, let's double check. Yep, and so on here it's floor plans. And it should be first, second, and third floor all at 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. So I'm going to call this new work floor plans. I'm doing that to distinguish between if we had, for example, demo plans which show you all the stuff that's being ripped out, those would be called demolition plans. Or if you had existing floor plans for documentation, you would call them existing floor plans. So new work indicates that I'm showing the new work on these floor plans. To bring on my drawing, same deal. I'm just going to come over here to floor plans, level 1, drag it on. Level 2, drag it on. And level 3, drag it on. Okay, so you notice that blue line that shows up, that tells me that my views are aligned, which is awesome. What's not great right now is that my view is larger than I can fit on here. So I'm going to need to crop down my view a little bit. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to show my crop region down here. And I'm going to bring in these bubbles a tiny bit. So I thought the relationship to the garage might be interesting, but it's shown in my site plan. So I'm going to bring that in, bring this in until I'm really just focusing on the row house itself. So then I'm going to turn that off, double click outside here. I'm going to kind of recenter this so everything gets on here. I still want my elevation view, my elevation markers to be within here. So I'm going to double click, drag these in closer, drag this one in closer. I don't think I didn't do a back elevation. So this I can just delete. I don't even need that view. Okay, so now that's on my page. I can give it a little bit more breathing room than that. And that's my other building line. Okay, that's all fine. So I'm going to double click outside here. So then I'm going to, nothing is selected. I'm going to click, drag this up, my title up. I'm going to bring that right to the bottom here. Then I'm going to click on here, drag this in so it doesn't take up the whole thing. So these should have like 3 equal widths, more or less. So I'm going to do DL just to make a line. I'm going to do a thin line. I'm going to draw 2 separating lines on here. And then I'm going to use my EQ dimension string just as I would in any other situation to help even out these spaces so I can try to make my sheet look neat. So I'm going to do DI, dimension that, dimension that, dimension that, come up to here. Then I'm going to click the EQ button. And now I know that I have 3 kind of equal areas to put these in. So I'm going to move this over a little bit. Move over my level 1 thing a little bit. Okay, then this one I'm going to hover this way so that I can see that they're aligned horizontally. And I'm just going to use my arrow keys to kind of get that in the center there. I'm going to click and drag up this. That little dotted line that showed up there tells me it's aligned with the other one. So I want to try to keep things as neat as I can. Try to keep my lines about the same length. Okay, and then last one. So again, I'm using that to get these aligned. I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of move that over a bit. And then this one I need to crop a little bit. So I'm going to put in my crop region. Bring this up to here. This doesn't need to go over that line. I'm going to bring that in. Bring all those edges in. Then I'm going to turn off my crop boundary, double click outside. Okay, nothing selected. Click, drag this up. Select my view so I can bring in this. Okay, so now my floor plans are all set up. And you'll notice they all have the same view template, so all my new walls are in dark black. I never tagged this. Oh, that door is not new. No wonder I didn't tag it. Okay, cool. So everything looks okay on here. Great. Next sheet. I'm going to hit save. Click on new sheet. Same one, hit OK. So A2 is going to be my exterior elevation. So I'm going to click in here, rename it. Exterior elevations. It might be a little bit misleading to call it that because I'm going to actually add in a few extra things as well. So we're looking for the front exterior, side exterior, my building section, and that call out I made. So I'm going to go over here to my north elevation, drag that on. My west elevation, drag that on. Now what scale did I ask for those at? Let's check. Those are supposed to be at 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm gonna, right now they're at 1/8, so I'm gonna bring it up to 1/4 over there. And then over here, same deal. I'm going to bring this up to 1/4. They're all still going to fit. I'm not going to be able to fit these on the same little area, which is okay. I might fuss with that in a second because I kind of like them to all fit on one. Okay, I can bring this up. And a lot of this is just graphically figuring out like how much can I fit on a sheet so that it looks full but not cluttered. Okay, I'm going to edge this up a little bit more. Okay, so I can crop this down a little bit. If I double click here, I can put on this little piece, bring that down a little bit, bring this in a little bit, bring this up. So again, I'm just trying to make this smaller. I can bring my section line up so it's not looking at quite so much. Bring this section line down so it doesn't overhang. Here I want to show a little split in my section so you can see where we're looking. Okay, I'm going to turn off that crop region. Double click outside, and then I'm going to drag up my north elevation marker right underneath here. I'm going to do DL to create a boundary line. It looks like that's going to be right at halfway there, which is great. I still would like to edge this up a little bit, so let's see if we can make this come in even a little bit closer here. I'm going to hide this, hide and view elements. Those usually won't print anyway, so it's more for my peace of mind that I'm hiding it. I'm being picky. I don't like that this kind of is not all the way in the blue, so I'm actually going to expand this a tiny bit so that I can get bring this down, and I'm going to select this. I'm having trouble selecting the top of that, so I think I just need to get this out of the way so I can select this bubble, bring that up a tiny bit, then select this line and bring this up a little bit so that way it's all the way on the blue. Okay. So this whole thing I can bring up a little bit. Okay, so that's looking not terrible. I'm going to go to this one here. I'm also going to crop my box in a little bit closer. Bring this down a bit. I'm going to hide those. So right click, hide and view category. And deactivate view. Actually, and let me crop up here. So I'm going to crop this in. So it's not overhanging quite so much. Okay, and this I'm going to bring out a little bit more so you can see the front step. Okay, I'm going to hide my boundary, double click outside, then I'm going to drag this up here. So you get that in there. I don't like that these lines extend quite so far across. I don't think we need that. So I'm going to bring those in closer so they just kind of go to the end there. Deactivate view, bring this over. And I know this is like it's a very tedious work. This is the kind of work that you will get stuck with when you first start off this. That takes a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of brains, but it is important to make your drawings look clean and readable. Honestly, it's still important work. Okay. So now I have my north elevation and my west elevation, and in here I'm going to go on my view names. I'm going to type in elevation at the end to distinguish them from the section we're about to put on. So on here I'm going to add north elevation. Okay, great. So I still need to add in my section and my detail. And I don't think I have. Let's see what size makes sense for those. So if I go over to here, I don't think I have one specified yet, do I? I don't. So let's figure out what sizes those want to be. So I'm going to first bring in my section. So that is, I believe, section 2. I'm going to click and drag that onto here. And right now that's a 1/4 inch scale and it really fills up this whole page. What's nice about that is then I can kind of have these side by side, and I think that's pretty nice. So I actually want to leave that scale alone. I do want that at 1/4 inch. The one question is like, will we be able to find room for a detail somewhere on this sheet? And I will check in a minute. We can try to figure it out. Okay. So yeah, so I think it's nice that I can kind of look at this and then look across and see like, oh, that's where this stair is, or that's where that's happening. I think this is an important drawing to have large. I do want to crop in some of this stuff though. So I'm going to click on here, bring that in nice and tight, hide my reference views, hide and view category, oops, hide and view category, and delete that because that's not a new door, my bad. To really add 2 new doors, that feels unreal. Okay. I can also tag, I didn't tag any rooms in here, which would be nice, so I'm going to type in TG. Actually, I'm going to go to architecture, tag room, and just tag a few of these rooms in here. They help orient people. It'll help people orient the plans with my section. So I think that's worth doing. Okay. I'm going to drag these in a little bit closer. Okay, so I'm going to right click, deactivate view. I want to bring this little marker up closer. So where can I fit in the detail view, if anywhere? This feels pretty happy. It doesn't really feel like it wants more stuff up here. So I don't really want to fit it there. Let's just try dragging it on, seeing how big it is. So that, I think, is under section callouts. So rail details, I'm going to drag that on. And there it is. I guess my first question is, like, can it get smaller and will it still be legible? So if I bring this down to 1.5 inch scale by going into properties, that makes it a lot smaller. But I would argue it's still legible. Like, I can bring this up. I probably should have put a symbol in there, annotate symbol center line, just to clarify what I'm dimensioning to there. And this should really be a center line versus a hidden line. Okay, so this text is all still legible. I could make these a little bit bigger just so that they can read better. Yep, Control Z. What happened there is that this got too far off of the crop region, so it disappeared. Same thing with that. So if I increase my annotation crop region here, I should be able to get that back. Okay, I'm going to hide that crop region again, deactivate view. I think I can fit that over here. One thing I want you to know is now that this is on a sheet, when I go over here to my section marker, it's now labeled as detail 3 on A2. So this is sheet A2, this is detail 3. So that's what those little markers get filled in with once you have something to fill them in with. Okay. So how about, what if, can I fit it here? I think I can. I'm going to type in DL to add in a little boundary line here from here to here. So I want to reserve that amount of space for it. I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to bring this down so it aligns, bring that in. And that means this needs to get a little bit smaller. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to bring in my crop region a little bit. So here, bring this in to like just barely the step in there. I'm going to make this come in really tight. I don't super need those levels all the way over there. I'm going to have these levels read over here instead in that in-between space rather than having them with the garage space. And then I'm going to bring this over. And I'll just, you know, it's important to know that there's another volume there. It's not important to know how big it is. It's kind of nice to know that that ends. Let's see if I can fit everything if I leave that. Okay, so I'm going to hide that, double click outside. I'm going to bring this over. Okay, yeah, yep, everything will fit. Great. So I'm putting this on, dragging this over. So if your detail is larger and it won't fit here, you can put it on another sheet, right? So maybe you'll have room on the next sheet. Or you could even conceivably, like in a pinch, I'll put something in this area if I'm not using it, even though it's kind of nicer to keep that clean. Okay. So next thing, I'm going to save. So we have one more sheet, our interior, enlarged plans, and elevations. So I'm going to come over here to view, new sheet. I still want this one, hit OK. And here I'm going to drag on my enlarged plans. So those show up here, my level 1 callout. And I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this, under view name, I'm going to call this level living room enlarged plan. And then I'm going to, an enlarged floor plan, I should really say, enlarged floor plan. And then I'm also going to bring on my RCP, which is this one, drag that on. And here I'm going to call this living room RCP for reflected ceiling plan. So I'm going to kind of drag up until those align, perfect. And then I'm going to drag this up, drag this one down a little bit so those align. I think both of these can come up a tiny bit. Okay, so what other views do I need on here? I also need my 2 interior elevations, a lighting key, and schedule. So interior elevations, those are under here, under my project browser, elevations, interior elevations, and these should really have better names than I've given them. I'm going to drag them on as is for right now. Okay, so this one is, north is this way, so this is the north elevation. So I'm going to call this living room north elevation. And then this one is this side wall, so that would be east. So I'm going to call this one. And sometimes when I click on here, it's like hard to get it to let me rename it. So I should be able to come down here until I see view name and rename it here. So living room, and we said east elevation. Okay. So now those 2 views are on here. And you'll notice that on here, they've also renamed themselves. I don't like how I can't read what they're called. So I'm going to double click on here. And I'm not actually used to it like bothering to tell me the title. So I'm going to look at this thing, edit type. And so elevation tag is 1/2 inch, callout tag is, What if I hit none? What happens? I'm just going to hit OK to see what that looks like a second. That didn't help me. Well, it didn't change, did it? What if I click on this instead? Go to edit type. So callout tag. Okay, so when I click on that one, which was elevation tag, elevation mark has filled arrow and view name. I'm just going to change it to filled arrow and hit OK. Hit OK again. Okay, so that's better. So that just gets rid of some of that clutter. We don't need to know the full name of it right there. Okay, great. And that changed it everywhere because it changed it globally. Okay, I need to drag this up so it's even. So what else needed to get added here? Going back to here, I still needed a lighting key and a schedule. So we haven't talked about schedules or keys yet. Let me start out by making a line that goes across here just to separate these out. And have a line go down here rather than having, I'm just going to move this over And I'm going to switch the order of these so that I can have these two things aligned, just that they're like, you know, this is showing that elevation, and you'll notice like that line that shows up that shows they're aligned. I think that's always kind of nice. And this one I'm going to have, it doesn't align with anything over here specifically, other than that other one, but I still just want to kind of keep this nice and neat. And I can bring this line in. Okay, so I have my 4 views there. I also don't like how this is going like, oh, let's bring this up a little bit. This needs to be that low. I don't like how this is going 1, 2, 4, 3. So I'm going to change my numbers here. Over here, I'm going to make this one 3 and this one 4. It's not going to let me change this to 3 unless this is a different number. So I'm going to change the detailing number here to 6 for a second. Then change this one to 3. And then change this one back to 4. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Okay, so a key. So how I use, or like a legend, I guess was what it's really called. So if you go to view and then go to legends, I'm going to create a legend. And I'm going to call this lighting legend. And then I want it to be at the same scale as these. So I'm going to make it 1/2 inch and hit OK. Okay, so what's really cool about these legends is that if you go to annotate, you can go over here to component, go to legend component, and then over here there's this tiny little bar. It lets you find things that are already in here that you can add to your legend. So I'm doing one for lighting, so I'm going to put in my lighting fixture, the Hayworth, I think it's a swell pendant, and I have it in floor plan, so I'm going to click the floor plan. And then the other lighting fixture I have is the recessed lamp, so I'm going to click that in. Okay, and then I can add text here that describes what it is. So over here, I'm going to put in, I don't want this to be 1 inch text. No, change this to 30 seconds. Okay, so this is going to be L, I think this is L2 actually. So this is L2, and I'm going to call this one pendant light. And then I'm going to copy this, CO, copy down. I'm going to call this L1 and call this recessed downlight, recessed LED downlight. Okay, and I want L1 to be above L2, so I'm going to move both of these things up. And then over both of these, I'm just going to add in some more text. So I'm going to make this one lighting legend. And I'm going to make this bigger. So I'm going to make this one maybe the 1/4 inch. And then I can always underline it or add whatever else I feel I need to it. I can make it centered here. Sometimes it's nice just to have a couple extra lines in there. So I'm going to take this as it is. So I'm going to go back over to here, find my lighting legend. So that'll be under legends, the plus sign, and drag that onto here. And I want that to be right over here, kind of right next to my RCP, so that people can look at this and see like, what's that symbol? And they'll be like, oh, that's a recessed LED and lamp light. Cool. I can make this kind of go from side to side of this so that it feels like it's all kind of one integrated thing. And then maybe this wants to come up. And I can also kind of copy this line down. And like, obviously, if this were a bigger project, there'd be many more items here and it would look a little bit more impressive. This one looks a little bit sad. I'm going to bring that over a little bit so that it's all lined up. Okay. So I don't like having the title on this though. So over here, I'm going to go to viewport 1. I'm going to edit type, duplicate it. I'm going to call this empty and hit OK. And then here, I'm going to hit show title, no. And then over here, line pattern, can I do none? Maybe not. Hit OK. Maybe make the color white and then hit OK. Hit OK again. That's just going to make that little title bar kind of disappear. If I want it back, I can always go over here and go to viewport 1 and bring it back. But for legends, I usually don't put it on there. Okay, so there's my lighting legend, and I also set a schedule. So it's a little bit silly to have a schedule for this since there's so few that somebody can just like literally count them. But I'll go ahead and make a schedule just so that we know how to make schedules. So I'm going over to MSave first. I'm going to go over to View, Schedules, Schedule Quantities. And here I want to pick what I'm scheduling. So I'm scheduling lighting fixtures. So I'm going to go over here. And I'm scheduling building components. That's all correct. Hit OK. And then I'm going to bring over the type mark. So bring that over. So that's going to be like the L1, L2 thing. And then I'm going to bring in, I don't know if I ever actually named them. So let's see what options I have in here. So these are all different kind of things we can know about the lights that you might want to put in there. So for example, you might want to know the height or the width. Do the family and type. I really just want like the name of it. Do they have that as an option? Let's see, mark model. So I could put in like the model. And if these categories work, will depend on how good the families you found are, if they actually have the model number in there and everything. If they don't, you can always make kind of a fake category called comment or something, and then you can just put the information you need in there. And then I'm just going to keep it super simple. I'm going to put in type mark, model, and I'm going to put in quantity. So let's see, is quantity a thing? Count maybe is a thing, count. And actually I want to put in one more thing, which should be the temperature, because that's usually pretty important. I don't want temperature loss, I just want like the initial color temperature. Okay, I'm going to move that up. Okay, so then I'm making a schedule with these things in it. I'm going to hit OK. So you'll notice that that's going to give me this nice little thing. This one doesn't have the model number in there to tell me what it is. So I'm just going to call this LED downlight. And it's going to change it for all of those. I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to do that. Awesome. I probably also would want the manufacturer in there. So if I have already made this, I can still edit it. So I'm going to go over here to Fields, hit Edit, and I can bring the manufacturer over. So that is going to be manufacturer, bring that over, and I can bring that up. Hit OK, and so then add in. So the Hayworth one is in there. This is just a Revit family, it's not a real one. So I'm just going to pretend this is Cooper lighting. And it's going to fill it in for all of those. Okay, so right now it is listing all these as one count, which isn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of like give me how many of L1s there are. So do I remember how to do that? Hang on, I'm gonna have to pause a second and make sure I know how to do that before I tell you guys. Okay, we're good. So I wanted to kind of group all the L1s together and all the L2s together and just give me a count of them rather than listing each one separately. So to do that, I'm going to go into sort and grouping, click edit. And over here, I wanted to sort by type mark. It's doing that already, but I want to sort by type mark. And over here where it says itemize every instance, I'm going to uncheck that and then hit OK. So you can see I have 8 of the Cooper lighting, 8 of the Hayworth, great. So now I'm going to come back to my A3 and I'm going to drag that on. So that shows up, schedule show up just like anything else. Over here, click, drag, bring it on. And I want to adjust this just so that it like looks nicer. So I'm going to bring this out. So the count doesn't need to be that big. The initial color temperature can be bigger. The model can certainly be bigger. Manufacturer can be bigger. I'm going to edge this over until that line lines up. Okay, so that looks a little bit more like it belongs. I would like it if the title here was as big as that one rather than having to be so much smaller. So I'm going to go over here, double click, so it brings me back to here. I'm going to hover over this and change it to lighting caps lock, lighting fixture schedule. And then also over here under formatting, I can edit this. And you'll notice, like, if you click on any of these, you can get to all the other ones, right? So if I go to formatting, maybe it's appearance rather. So if I go to appearance, thin lines is fine for this. For title text, so that's the top, I want to change that to be 1/4 inch Arial and hit OK. And so now if I come back to this A3, those will have about the same size, which makes me a little bit happier. Okay. So I have my lighting legend, my lighting fixture schedule. I'm actually going to delete this line so there's no double line there. Okay. So that's everything I need on this sheet. I never named this sheet. It should be called Interior Enlarged Plans and Elevations. That might be too much to fit. Let's see. Nope, it all fits. Great. Okay, so this sheet is now done. So we have A3, which is done. We have A2, which is done. We have A1, which is done. The one sheet that is not done is our cover sheet. So let's come back to our cover sheet. And now let's make that drawing list that we weren't ready to make before. So I'm going to come back over here, save quick if you haven't saved. Go to view. And then we want schedules. And then here you want to have a sheets list. So this is going to be a list of all the sheets you have in the project. I want to keep this pretty simple. We're just going to put on the sheet name. We want the sheet number. And again, these are all the other things you know about sheets that you could add in. You could add in what the current revision is. You could add in who drew it, what any of these kinds of things. But for now, that's all I'm going to put on the number and name. I want the number first, and then I'm going to hit OK. So here I'm going to change the name sheet list to drawing list. And same thing, I want to edit this so that it's 1/4 inch at the top. So if I go to appearance and change the title text to 1/4 inch and hit OK. Okay, so I'm going to drag that onto my title sheet. So I'm coming over here to cover sheet, dragging on my drawing list. And this I want to make bigger. So drawing list, and it's pretty small, right? It doesn't take up much room at all. I'm trying to figure out like how to not make this look silly. So I think this even could just like go on this side of here rather than having like its own whole own area. Like it just feels too small for that. In a larger project, this would take up like the whole title sheet because you'd have 100 pages, 100 different sheets. Since there's like nothing else going on in this page, I'm just gonna bring this, well, I could put the address down here. So you could have like other project information. So let's do that. So let's go to annotate, text. I'm going to do, so this is address, and it's 2001 East Fairmount Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland. Don't know the zip. 21231. 21231. Make this 1/4 inch and call this like project address. So all these things that like I just don't have enough to really like keep it here. It just feels kind of silly. So I'm gonna bring this all down. Maybe I can align with. I still like line with something. So I'm going to do AL, align this to that, and align this to that. Let's see how that does. Then I can bring this up a little bit. Okay. So potentially my drawing list could keep expanding that way. Okay, so then what are we doing with these? How about we stack these two views and we let that get bigger? So this I'm going to make smaller because I think it's too big. So I'm going to go to size crop. I don't want to change the field of view. I think the field of view on this is fine. So I'm going to change the scale instead here, and I'm going to make the width, let's make it 8 inches. And then hit apply to see what that looks like. I think that looks more reasonable. I'm going to hit OK. So I'm going to bring this down, bring this up. For this one, I want their widths to match. So I'm going to go to size crop, again, click on scale, and the width of this I'm going to bring up to 8 inches, hit apply. I still think it should be a little bit bigger, so maybe I can kind of bring in the sides of this a bit. So maybe it doesn't need to be that much of that building in there. I like seeing the edge of that one, that's kind of ending. But let's just bring that in so it makes it a little bit bigger overall. Okay. So now I'm going to go back here, go to size crop. I'm going to go back to scale again and make the width 8 inches again. Hit OK. I know those should have the same width. I can create a detail line, DL, just to kind of like have something to line these things up to and look at. Try to get them about lined up. Okay, so where did the title for that go? It's hiding in here. This is way out here, so let's bring that in. Bring this out. Okay, so those look nicer together. I'm going to select both of them and allow them to come all the way over here. I'm starting to think actually maybe my site plan can be bigger. I had made it a lot smaller because I thought it was too big, but I don't have anything else happening on this sheet, so I might as well let it be big. So I'm going to show the crop region here again. Bring this out to here. Bring this out to here. So again, like this is bigger than it needs to be from an information standpoint, but I'm doing this so that my page looks like composed and full. Okay, so I'll bring this down so it aligns. All right, so there is my title page. So now I have my 4 sheets, A0, A1, A2, A3, and they're all complete. I'm going to save up here. So now I need to make a PDF that I can upload into Canvas. So I'm going to go over to File, go to Print. Under Print, you want to make sure this says Adobe PDF, or it might say Microsoft Print PDF. It's some kind of PDF maker. I'm going to come here to Print Range, select View Sheet, select. I'm going to check None. Then I'm going to uncheck Views. We're just putting sheets, and you're going to select your sheets. If you have many more than this, you made some extra sheets, just make sure you're selecting the ones that you actually formatted, have stuff on, or happy with. I'm going to save this as a set 1, just so it's easy to select them again. I'm going to hit OK. Settings, you're going to go into Setup, and you want to change your paper size to ArcD. That's the size our paper is. You always want your zoom to 100% of size. It should be a landscape. Offset from corner, no margin. If this gives you problems, do center. I'm always not 100% sure which one to do. I think it depends a little bit on your title block and how that family was made. So let's try no margin for now and then see what happens. Generally, you want to do vector processing. It will tell you for anything with raster on it, like this first page has color and like shading, it'll do raster processing instead, and that is fine. Over here under options, I'm going to hide scope boxes, hide crop boundaries, hide and reference view tags, hide reference, and work planes. So other than that, this all looks good to go. I'm going to hit OK. So here, my computer will not let me combine multiple selected view sheets into a single file. I do not know why. It's just cranky about it. The other thing I have to change on my computer that you probably don't have to do on yours is I have to unclick rely on system fonts only over here. My computer's working. I don't know why it does that. Okay, so I'm going to create separate files for now. You could also combine yours if your computer will let you do that. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to say, do you want to print these? I'm going to say yes. And it's just warning me that it's using raster printing because I have shading. So I'm going to hit close. That's fine. And I want to find a place to save this that I can easily find them to upload. So new folder, example sheets, and I can upload these for you so you have them. So I'm going to save that one. That's my cover. It's going to take a minute to print them all. And then it'll usually immediately open it so you can kind of take a look and make sure everything looks right on it. For some reason, my computer with raster images does this thing where like you have to click on it to see all the pieces. It won't be like that in reality. It's just doing that for some reason. Save. Okay, so here's my floor plan, so I can see those are all on there nicely. Here are my elevations. And then finally, this is my interior and large plans. Okay, so that is all on there. I now am going to come back over here and find those sheets, and I can combine them. So if I shift click them all, right click, I can combine files in Acrobat and hit combine. I want to make sure they're in the right order here. They should be, if you named them correctly, they should already come out in the right order. And then I'm going to do File, Save As, and call this A 80 to 11 final Revit drawing set. And save it. And that's the file that I would like you to upload to Canvas to show that you have completed this project. That's also your final grade for this class. All right, thank you so much.